The dust had settled on the old data crystal for longer than Daewon had been alive. He found it in Vault 17, tucked behind rows of other forgotten records that nobody cared about anymore. The Galactic Council archives on Velthera Prime held billions of files, and most of them would never be read again. Daewon's job was simple: catalog everything, make sure nothing was lost, and ask no questions. He was good at his job. Too good, perhaps. The crystal looked different from the others. Most were clear or pale blue, their surfaces smooth and perfect. This one was dark red, almost black, and its surface had strange markings that hurt his eyes when he looked at them too long. A metal seal wrapped around it, stamped with symbols he didn't recognize. Daewon held the crystal up to the light. The seal was old. Ancient, even. The kind of old that made his skin prickle with curiosity. He shouldn't have broken it. The seal was there for a reason. But Daewon had spent 5 years in these archives, reading about civilizations that rose and fell like waves on a shore, and nothing surprised him anymore. Nothing scared him. That was about to change. The seal cracked easily, turning to powder in his hands. The crystal pulsed once, then projected a holographic display into the air. Daewon stepped back, his heart racing. The text was in Old Galactic Standard, the kind they used 3,000 years ago, before the Council reformed everything. He read the first line, and his blood ran cold. Warning. Species designation human. Threat level, extinction class. Daewon blinked. He had never heard of humans before. In all his years studying galactic history, the name had never appeared once. He scrolled through the file, his hands shaking slightly. The next section made even less sense. Planet of origin, Terra, Sector 773B, status destroyed species, status extinct council order, 4471, all records to be sealed. Discussion of this species is forbidden by unanimous vote. Extinct species weren't unusual. The galaxy was old and many civilizations had come and gone. But why seal the records? Why forbid discussion? Daewon's curiosity burned brighter than his caution. He kept reading. The file contained fragments of contact reports, military assessments, and something that looked like witness testimonies. The first video file activated, showing a grainy image of a bipedal creature. It stood upright on 2 legs, had 2 arms, and a face that looked almost friendly. Almost normal. Physical assessment, a robotic voice narrated. Humans are persistence predators. They do not kill quickly. They chase their prey for days, sometimes weeks, until the target collapses from exhaustion. They do not give up. They do not stop. The video changed. Now it showed a human running across an endless plain, following a 4-legged animal. Hours passed and fast forward. The animal ran, rested, ran again. The human never stopped, not once. When the animal finally fell, too tired to move, the human was still coming. Daewon felt sick. Another file opened. This one was a military report from something called the Vryn Empire. He knew that name. The Vryn had ruled half the galaxy once, thousands of years ago. They were powerful, advanced, and ruthless. The Council had defeated them in a war that lasted centuries, or so the history books said. The report told a different story. Engagement. Fight 8. Human fleet encountered in Sector died or 19. Initial assessment. Small force. Primitive weapons. Expected easy victory. Result. Total loss of battle group. Human vessels engaged in kamikaze attacks. They rammed our ships deliberately. Crew survival rate 0. Human casualties accepted without hesitation. Daewon scrolled faster. More reports. More battles. Each one showed the same pattern. The humans didn't fight like other species. They didn't calculate acceptable losses or retreat when outmatched. They fought like they had nothing to lose because they didn't care if they died. They are not logical, one report stated. They fight with emotion, with rage, with something we cannot understand. Recommend immediate extermination of this species before they spread. The archive contained hundreds of similar reports. But what caught Daewon's attention was the final entry. It was a video message marked as Final Transmission from Vryn Command. He played it. The hologram showed a Vryn commander, its scales dull with fear. Behind it, alarms blared and lights flashed red. Smoke filled the room. This is High Commander Relith of the Vryn Empire. If anyone finds this message, know this. We awakened something we should have left alone. The humans united every species we had enslaved. They taught them to fight. They taught them to resist. And when we thought we had won, When we destroyed their fleets and blockaded their world, they did the unthinkable. The commander's voice broke. They weaponized their own star. They turned their sun into a bomb. They evacuated their allies and left themselves behind. Terra is gone. The humans sacrificed their homeworld to destroy us. The chain reaction is spreading. Our core worlds are burning. The empire is falling. The commander looked directly at the camera. Beware the species called human. The myths will call them monsters. The legends will not lie. They are capable of anything. Anything. The transmission ended. Daewon stood frozen in the empty archive room. His mind raced. The Vryn Empire hadn't fallen to the Council. They had fallen to humans. A species so desperate, so determined, that they had destroyed their own planet to win. What are you doing? Daewon spun around. Hana stood in the doorway, her face pale. She was his superior, the head archivist, and she looked terrified. Hana, I know what you found, she interrupted. She walked quickly to him and grabbed the crystal. This vault was sealed for a reason, Daewon. You shouldn't have opened it. But why? Daewon asked. Why hide this? The humans saved the galaxy from the Vryn, their heroes. Hana laughed, but it was a bitter sound. Heroes, the Council didn't see heroes. They saw a species that would destroy their own world to defeat an enemy. What do you think they would do to us if we ever became their enemy? Daewon stared at her. Are they really extinct? Hana was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed and sat down heavily. I don't know, she admitted. The official story is that their sun went supernova and took them all. But there are rumors, whispers. Some say there were evacuation ships. Some say humans are still out there watching from the dark corners of the galaxy. She looked at the crystal in her hands. The Council sealed these records because they were afraid of what humans represented. A species that would sacrifice everything, burn their own world to ash just to protect others. That kind of determination terrifies people who value survival above all else. Daewon felt a chill run down his spine. What do we do now? Hana stood up, her expression hardening. We put this back and forget you ever saw it. That's what we do. But as she walked away, Daewon noticed something. Hana had palmed a small data chip, sliding it into her pocket when she thought he wasn't looking. She had copied the files. Maybe he wasn't the only one who wanted to know the truth. Maybe the truth about humans was too important to stay buried. Outside the archives, the galaxy continued its peaceful existence, unaware that somewhere in the darkness a question had been asked, a question that would soon demand an answer. Were the humans really gone? And if they weren't, what would happen when they returned? The ship appeared on their scanners like a ghost from the past. Junho stared at the readings and frowned. Nothing should be out here in the outer rim. This sector was dead space, marked on all the charts as empty and worthless. Captain, you seeing this? Mirai's voice crackled over the comm from the engineering bay. I see it, Junho replied. He leaned forward in his chair, studying the massive shape on the display. The vessel was huge, easily 5 times the size of his salvage ship, the Fortune's Edge. But it wasn't moving. No power signatures, no heat, just drifting in the black like a corpse. Tae-Yang entered the bridge, wiping grease from his hands. The security officer looked over Junho's shoulder at the screen and whistled low. That's old, Tae-Yang said. Really old. Look at the hull design. Those are ablative plates. Nobody's used those in 1,000 years. Junho nodded slowly. In the salvage business, old meant valuable. Ancient technology could be worth a fortune to the right collectors. But something about this felt wrong. The ship sat perfectly still, caught in the gravity of a dead moon. It should have crashed by now, but it hung there like it was waiting. Mirai, can you get any readings on the hull composition? Junho asked, a pause. Then Mirai's voice came back, confused. Captain, the metal doesn't match anything in our database. It's some kind of alloy we've never seen before. Really dense. Really strong. Tae-Yang crossed his arms. Could be pre-council era. Before the standardization. Could be, Junho agreed. But his instincts, honed by 20 years of salvage work, told him this was something different. Something special, we're checking it out, he decided. Mirai, prep the boarding shuttle. Tae-Yang, grab your equipment. If this thing is what I think it is, we're about to get very rich. The shuttle ride to the derelict took 15 minutes. Up close, the ship was even more impressive. The hull was scarred with burn marks and impact craters. Whatever battles this vessel had seen, they had been brutal. Junho guided the shuttle to an airlock and docked. The seals hissed as they connected. Tae-Yang checked his scanner. We've got atmosphere inside, he reported. Thin but breathable. Temperature is freezing, though. Feels like a tomb. Let's hope there's treasure in this tomb, Mirai said, trying to sound cheerful. But Junho heard the nervousness in her voice. The airlock opened with a groan of old metal. They stepped inside, their breath forming clouds in the cold air. Emergency lights flickered on, casting red shadows across the corridor. The walls were covered in symbols and text that none of them recognized. What language is that? Mirai asked, running her hand over the markings. No idea, Junho admitted. Scan it. Maybe we can translate it later. They moved deeper into the ship. The corridors were wide and tall, designed for beings similar to their own size. But everything felt wrong. The angles were slightly off. The doors were shaped differently. This ship had been built by a species that thought differently than any civilization they knew. They found the first bodies in what looked like a barracks. Skeletal remains in strange armor, collapsed where they had fallen. Taeyang examined one carefully. These suits are incredible, he said. Look at the weave. This is composite material. Layers of different metals, lightweight but stronger than anything we use today. How long have they been dead? Mirai asked quietly. Taeyang shook his head. Thousands of years. Maybe more. They pressed on, finding more bodies. Whoever these beings were, they had died at their posts, trying to keep the ship running until the very end. Then they reached the cryo bay. The room was massive, filled with rows of cylindrical pods. Most were dark and broken, their occupants long dead. But near the center of the room, one pod still glowed with a faint blue light. Mirai approached it slowly, her scanner beeping. Captain, she whispered. This one's still active. The occupant is alive. Junho felt his heart race. Are you sure? The readings are stable. Minimal power draw, but the system is functioning. Whoever's in there has been asleep for a very long time. Taeyang moved to the control panel next to the pod. The display showed readings in that same unknown language, but the numbers were universal. Heart rate, brain activity, temperature, all within normal ranges. Should we wake them up? Mirai asked. It was a dangerous question. They had no idea who or what was in that pod. It could be hostile. It could be diseased. It could be anything. But Junho looked at the dead ship around them, at the fallen crew who had fought so hard to survive, and he thought about the loneliness of drifting in space for thousands of years. Yes, he said. We wake them up. Taeyang worked on the controls for several minutes, trying to understand the alien system. Finally, something clicked. The pod hissed and began to drain the blue fluid inside. The lid slowly opened, releasing a cloud of freezing vapor. Inside lay a being that looked almost like them. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. The creature's skin was pale from the long sleep, and it was smaller than Junho had expected. Fragile looking. As they watched, its eyes opened. The being gasped, drawing in air with a sound like a drowning person breaking the surface. Its eyes were wild, confused, darting around the room. Then they focused on Junho and the others. Please, the being croaked in a voice rough from disuse. It tried to speak again, and this time the words were in that unknown language. Mirai quickly activated her translation device. It hummed for a moment, analyzing the speech patterns, then beeped. Translation acquired, the device announced. Language identified as Ancient Terran Standard. The being spoke again, and now they could understand. Did we make it? It asked weakly. Is the galaxy safe? Junho knelt beside the pod. You've been asleep for a long time. What's your name? The being struggled to sit up. Mirai helped, supporting its weight. My name is Hyunwoo, it said. I was part of the Exodus fleet. We were supposed to escape before... His voice trailed off and his eyes widened with sudden horror. Earth, what happened to Earth? The translation device struggled with the word Earth, finally rendering it as Terra, homeworld designation. Junho exchanged glances with his crew. I don't know what Earth is, he said gently. But you've been in cryosleep for approximately 3,000 years. Hyunwoo stared at him. Then slowly, tears began to run down his face. 3,000 years, he repeated. Then it's gone. Terra's gone. We actually did it. Before Junho could ask what he meant, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and a voice spoke in that same ancient language. The translation device worked quickly. Warning: unauthorized life forms detected. Defensive protocols activated. Weapon systems online, Taeyang cursed. We need to go now! But Hyunwoo grabbed Junho's arm with surprising strength. No, wait. The ship recognizes me. I can shut it down. He spoke rapidly in his own language, his voice growing stronger. The alarm stopped. The lights returned to their dull red glow. Then a new voice spoke, this one calmer. Commander Hyunwoo recognized. Welcome back. Running system diagnostics. Warning, critical damage detected. Ship integrity at 47%. Cryobay failures 99%. Status of Exodus mission unknown. Hyunwoo closed his eyes, swaying slightly. Mirai steadied him. The others, he whispered. They're all dead, aren't they? I'm the only one left from this ship. Junho didn't know what to say. The weight of 3,000 years hung in the cold air. Hyunwoo opened his eyes and looked at each of them in turn. You're not human, he said. It wasn't a question. We don't know what humans are, Mirai admitted. A strange expression crossed Hyunwoo's face, sad and relieved at the same time. Then it worked, he said quietly. We saved you. All of you. The Vryn are gone and you're free. The Vryn? Taeyang asked. The old empire? They fell 3,000 years ago. They fell because we killed them, Hyunwoo said. His voice was soft, but there was something hard underneath. Something that made Junho's skin prickle. We killed them all. And we burned our own world to do it. The silence that followed was heavy with questions. But before anyone could speak, Hyunwoo collapsed, his body finally giving in to the strain of revival. As Mirai checked his vital signs, Junho stared at the ancient ship around them. At the dead crew who had sacrificed everything. At the symbols on the walls that spelled out a name. Exodus Protocol 7. Whatever humans were, they had changed the galaxy. And now they had one back. The myths spoke of monsters, Junho thought. But looking at Hyunwoo's peaceful face, he wondered if the legends had gotten it wrong, or if they had gotten it terrifyingly right. Daewon ran through the crowded streets of Velthera Prime, his bag heavy with stolen data chips. Behind him, Council security was closing in. He could hear their shouts, the heavy footsteps getting closer. He had known this was coming. The moment he copied those sealed files. The moment he started asking questions about humans, he had sealed his fate. But some truths were worth running for. He ducked into an alley and pressed himself against the wall, breathing hard. His communicator buzzed. It was Hana. Where are you? She asked urgently. Sector 9. They're right behind me. Get to the transport hub. Bay 47, there's a ship waiting. Daewon blinked in surprise. You're helping me? I've been asking the same questions you have, Hana said. And I found something, or rather, someone found me. Just get to Bay 47. Trust me. The line went dead. Daewon had no choice but to trust her. He ran. 20 minutes later, he burst into Bay 47, sweating and exhausted. A salvage ship sat there, its engines already warming up. The ramp was down. Standing at the top was a woman he didn't recognize. You Daewon? She called down. Yes. Who are you? Mirai, engineer. Get on board before security shows up. Daewon didn't need to be told twice. He sprinted up the ramp and it closed behind him with a hiss. The ship lifted off immediately, rising through the atmosphere with practiced ease. In the cockpit, a man with tired eyes nodded at him. I'm Junho, captain of the Fortune's Edge. Hana contacted us 3 days ago. Said you might need a ride. Where is Hana? Daewon asked. Already on board, Junho said. She's in the medbay with our passenger. Daewon followed Mirai through the narrow corridors to the medbay. What he saw there made him freeze in the doorway. A human sat on the medical bed, alive and breathing. Daewon had seen the videos in the archives, but seeing one in person was different. Hyunwoo looked so normal, so ordinary, not like a monster at all. Hana stood beside the bed, talking quietly with the human. She looked up when Daewon entered. Daewon, this is Hyunwoo. He's from the Exodus fleet, one of the last humans to leave Earth before. She trailed off. Before we destroyed it, Hyunwoo finished quietly. He studied Daewon with dark, intelligent eyes. Hana told me you found the sealed archives, that you want to know the truth about my people. Daewon nodded, still unable to speak. Hyunwoo stood slowly, his movements careful. He had been awake for 3 days now, but his body was still recovering from 3,000 years of sleep. Then I'll tell you, he said. I'll tell you everything. They gathered in the ship's common room. Taeyang joined them, bringing drinks and food. As the Fortune's Edge jumped to hyperspace, putting distance between them and Velthara Prime, Hyunwoo began his story. Earth was a small planet, he said. Not very important. We had just learned to travel between stars when we met the Vryn Empire. At first we thought it was a good thing. First contact. Proof we weren't alone in the universe. He paused, his eyes distant. We were so naive. The Vryn didn't see us as equals. They saw resources. They had been harvesting younger species for centuries, taking genetic material, using entire populations as slaves and experiments. By the time we understood what they were, they had already taken millions of our people. Daewon leaned forward. What did you do? We fought, Hyunwoo said simply. But we were outmatched. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of ours. Their fleets could destroy our cities from orbit we should have lost in weeks. But you didn't, Hana said softly. No, we didn't. Because humans have one advantage that the Vryn could never understand. We're stubborn. We don't quit. Even when we should. Hyunwoo activated a small holographic projector, showing images from his own memories. Battles in space, cities burning, but also something else. Ships from different species, fighting alongside human vessels. We found the others, he explained. All the species the Vryn had enslaved. We made contact with them secretly, taught them to resist, gave them weapons, tactics, hope. For 10 years, we fought a guerrilla war across the galaxy. Taeyang whistled. 10 years against the Vryn Empire? That's impossible. We lost millions, Hyunwoo said, his voice flat. Every day we lost more. But every day we survived was a victory. Every day the Vryn had to spend resources fighting us was a day they couldn't expand elsewhere. The hologram changed, showing a woman with kind eyes and determined expression. This is Sujin. She was our best scientist, brilliant and brave. When the war reached its 5th year, she came to the military command with a proposal. The image shifted to show a star, bright and burning. The Vryn Empire's core worlds were powered by harvested stellar energy. They had built massive collectors around their stars, drawing power directly from them. Sujin realized that if we could destabilize one star, the chain reaction would spread through their collection network. Daewon felt cold. You weaponized a star? We couldn't reach their stars, Hyunwoo said. Their core systems were too well defended, but Earth's sun was close to the right type, and the Vryn had just blockaded our system. They thought they had won. They were celebrating their victory, gathering their fleets in our orbit. The hologram showed Earth, blue and green and beautiful. Hyunwoo's voice cracked. The plan was insane. We would evacuate everyone we could. All our allies, refugees, everyone. We built the Exodus fleet in secret, hiding ships in the outer planets. Then we would trigger our sun to go supernova early, using technology we barely understood. The explosion would destroy the Vryn fleet above Earth and create an energy pulse strong enough to overload their stellar collectors. It would kill your world, Mirai whispered. Yes, Hyunwoo said. It would kill our world, but it would save everyone else. The hologram showed the final days. Massive evacuation ships leaving Earth, families saying goodbye, cities emptying, and through it all, volunteers stayed behind, keeping the plan secret, maintaining the illusion that humanity was beaten. Sujin was one of those who stayed, Hyunwoo said. She said someone had to trigger the device manually, someone who understood the science. I begged her to come with us. She just smiled and said some things were worth dying for. The hologram showed Earth's sun beginning to change, growing brighter, hotter. The Vryn fleet tried to flee, but it was too late. The star erupted, a wave of fire and energy that consumed everything for light years around. And then it spread. The energy pulse hit the Vryn's stellar collectors exactly as planned. One by one, their stars began to fail. Their core worlds burned. The Vryn Empire fell in 3 days, Hyunwoo said quietly. 3 days after we killed our own world. 3 days after Sujin and millions of others died to save you all. Silence filled the room. Daewon felt tears on his face and didn't care. The Exodus fleet scattered. Hyunwoo continued. We didn't know if any of us would survive. My ship was damaged in the escape. We went into cryo-sleep, hoping someone would find us eventually. I guess I'm lucky you did. Why didn't you tell anyone? Taeyang asked. Why let the council take credit for defeating the Vryn? Hyunwoo looked at him steadily. Because we didn't want to rule. We wanted you to be free. Free to build your own future without the shadow of humanity hanging over you. We hoped that if we disappeared, the younger species could learn from the Vryn's mistakes, could build something better. Junho spoke for the first time. Did they? I don't know yet, Hyunwoo admitted. But the fact that you found me, that you woke me up instead of spacing me or selling me to collectors, that gives me hope. Daewon stood up, his decision made. The council has been lying for 3,000 years. They sealed the truth because they were afraid of what humans represented. But people deserve to know. They deserve to know who really saved them. They'll call us monsters, Hyunwoo warned. Maybe, Daewon said. But they'll know you were monsters who sacrificed everything for strangers. That has to mean something. Hana pulled out a data chip. I copied everything from the archives before I left. Every file, every video, every report about humans. And I contacted some people. Journalists, historians, politicians who aren't afraid of the truth. She handed the chip to Hyunwoo. This is your story. Your people's story. What do you want us to do with it? Hyunwoo held the chip carefully as if it weighed more than the whole galaxy. He thought about Earth, burning bright and fierce, sacrificing itself for others. He thought about Sujin's smile. He thought about all the humans who had died believing their sacrifice meant something. Tell them, he said finally. Tell them everything, and then, he paused. Then we find out if any other humans survived. Because if they did, they deserve to know they can come home. The Fortune's Edge flew through hyperspace, carrying its precious cargo of truth and memory. Behind them, the council remained unaware that their carefully constructed lie was about to shatter. The myth spoke of monsters called humans. Soon the whole galaxy would learn that those monsters had saved them all. And somewhere in the dark spaces between stars, other Exodus ships drifted in the silence, waiting to be found. Waiting to wake up. Waiting to see if their sacrifice had been worth it. The legends didn't lie, but they also didn't tell the whole story. Not yet. The Galactic Council chambers erupted in chaos. Representatives from 200 species shouted at once, their voices mixing into an incomprehensible roar. Chancellor Yeon-seok stood at the central podium, his face carefully neutral, while the walls displayed the leaked footage on every screen. Images of humans. Videos of Earth's final moments, the truth about the Vryn Empire's fall. Everything the Council had hidden for 3,000 years was now public knowledge. Order. Yeon-seok's voice boomed through the speakers. I demand order. Slowly, reluctantly, the chamber quieted. Military Commander Bora stepped forward, her scales dark with anger. She pointed at the screen showing Hyunwoo's testimony. This is a disaster, she said bluntly. For 3 millennia, we have maintained peace based on the Council's authority. Now that foundation is cracked. The people know we lied to them. A representative from the Kelthir delegation stood. You didn't just lie about who defeated the Vryn. You buried an entire species. You erased them from history. We had good reason, Bora snapped back. Look at what they did. They destroyed their own world. They weaponized a star. What kind of species does that? A desperate one, another voice called out. One fighting for survival. Or a dangerous one, Bora countered. Tell me, if humans would burn their own planet to defeat an enemy, what would they do to us if we ever became their enemy? The chamber fell silent at that. It was the question everyone was thinking. The question that had haunted the original council members 3,000 years ago. Yeon-seok raised his hand for silence. The past is already revealed. What matters now is the future. We have confirmed reports of at least one living human. This Hyunwoo from the Exodus fleet. If one survived, there may be others. He gestured and new data appeared on the screens. Star charts, signal patterns, radio waves. For the past 70 years, our long-range monitoring stations have detected unusual transmissions from Sector 447. We dismiss them as natural phenomena. but our analysts now believe they match the communication patterns in the sealed human archives. The chamber erupted again. Bora's voice cut through the noise. You're saying humans are alive? That they've been out there this whole time watching us? Possibly, Yeon-seok admitted. We cannot confirm without sending a survey mission. But the probability is high. A Kelthier representative stood again. Then we must make contact. We must thank them for their sacrifice, or we must ensure they can never threaten us, Bora said coldly. Need I remind you all what we've just learned? Humans are persistence predators. They don't stop. They don't surrender. They fought the Vryn Empire for 10 years against impossible odds. They sacrificed billions of their own people. That kind of species cannot be trusted. They saved us, the Kelthier argued. They destroyed the Vryn to save themselves, Bora corrected. The fact that we benefited was coincidence. And now we have one of them on a civilian salvage ship traveling freely through our space, spreading their story. You want to kill him? Yeon-seok said. It wasn't a question. I want to eliminate the threat, Bora replied. Before it's too late. The chamber divided sharply. Some species called for peace and gratitude. Others demanded caution and strength. The argument raged for hours, going in circles, solving nothing. Finally, Yeon-seok called for a vote. We will decide this democratically. Those who believe we should extend peace and contact to humanity, vote yes. Those who believe humans represent a threat to galactic stability, vote no. The vote was close, painfully close. In the end, peace won by a margin of just 12 votes out of 200. But Bora was not finished. She approached Yeon-seok privately after the session ended. The vote changes nothing, she said quietly. My intelligence networks report that several fringe groups are already planning attacks on the Fortune's Edge. They're calling Hyunwoo an abomination, a monster that should have stayed dead. Yeon-seok sighed heavily. Can you stop them? I could, Bora said. But should I? Perhaps it's better if the problem solves itself. You would allow an innocent being to be murdered? Innocent? Bora laughed bitterly. He admitted to helping destroy his own world. He was part of a species that killed billions. Innocent is not the word I would use. Yeon-seok turned to face her fully. I know you're afraid, Bora, we all are. But fear makes us into the very thing we're afraid of. The Vryn ruled through fear and violence. If we kill Hyunwoo out of fear, how are we different from them? Bora was quiet for a long moment. You're assuming humans think like we do, that they value peace and cooperation. But what if they don't? What if to them, we're just another Vryn empire waiting to happen? Then we prove them wrong, Yeon-seok said firmly. We show them that we learned from their sacrifice, that we built something better, and if we can't prove it, Yeon-seok had no answer to that. Meanwhile, aboard the Fortune's Edge, Daewon and Hana were monitoring the galactic news networks. The response to the leaked information was explosive. Some called humans heroes, others called them monsters. Protests broke out on dozens of worlds. Monuments to the Council's victory over the Vryn were torn down. New monuments to human sacrifice were erected in their place. But there was also anger, fear. Thousands of messages flooded the networks, demanding that any surviving humans be found and eliminated before they could threaten the galaxy. Hyunwoo watched it all in silence from the ship's common room. His face showed no emotion, but his hands trembled slightly. I'm sorry, Daewon said quietly. We thought releasing the truth would help, but it's made things worse. No, Hyunwoo said. This is good. Everyone turned to look at him in surprise. You think this is good? Mirai asked. Hyunwoo nodded. For 3,000 years you lived with a lie. A comfortable lie that made you feel safe and superior. Now you're facing an uncomfortable truth. Some of you will react with gratitude, others with fear. But at least now you're reacting honestly. That's worth something. Junho entered the room, his expression grim. We've got problems. I'm picking up 3 ships on an intercept course. They're not broadcasting council identification. Could be pirates. Could be extremists. They're coming for me, Hyunwoo said calmly. We can outrun them, Junho said. For how long? Hyunwoo stood up. No, I won't let you risk yourselves for me. Set me down on the nearest station. I'll face whatever comes. Absolutely not, Hana said firmly. We started this together. We finish it together. The pursuing ships were getting closer. Taeyang armed the Fortune's Edge's limited weapon systems, but everyone knew they couldn't win a real fight. Then the communicator crackled to life. A new voice speaking with authority. This is Council Military Vessel Determination. Fortune's Edge, we have you on our scanners. The 3 ships pursuing you are not authorized. Stand by for defensive assistance. Bora's face appeared on the screen. She looked annoyed. Chancellor's orders, she said. Apparently he thinks you're worth protecting. Junho blinked in surprise. You're helping us? I'm following orders, Bora corrected. Don't make me regret it. The 3 pursuing ships broke off immediately when the military vessel appeared. They couldn't fight the Council's military and they knew it. Bora's expression softened slightly as she looked at Hyunwoo. Chancellor Yon Seok wants to meet with you. Officially. He's calling a special session of the Council. All species, all representatives. He wants you to speak. To tell your story directly. Hyunwoo was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. I'll do it. But I need to know something first. What? Are there others? Other humans? You've been monitoring space for 3,000 years. You must have seen something. Bora glanced off screen as if checking with someone. Then she nodded slowly. Yes. We've detected signals from Sector 447, patterns that match human communication protocols. We believe there's a colony there. Maybe several. We think humanity survived. Not many, but enough. Hyunwoo closed his eyes and tears streamed down his face. They made it. The Exodus fleet actually made it. Some of them, Bora said. We don't know how many. But yes, humans still exist. Then I need to ask you something, Hyunwoo said, opening his eyes. When I speak to the Council, will you let me contact them? Will you let me tell my people that it's safe to come home? Bora's jaw tightened. That depends on what you say. And how the Council votes. The galaxy is divided right now. Half see you as saviors, half see you as threats. Your words could tip the balance either way. No pressure then, Hyunwoo said with a weak smile. Bora didn't smile back. Human, understand this. I have spent my entire career preparing for threats to galactic peace. I have studied warfare, strategy, and survival. And everything I've learned tells me that your species is dangerous. You're right, Hyunwoo said quietly. We are dangerous. Any species capable of compassion is also capable of violence. We proved that when we destroyed Earth, but that's not all we are. Then what are you? Hyunwoo met her gaze steadily. We're the species that would burn our own world to save yours. We're the monsters that chose to protect the innocent instead of ourselves. We're dangerous, yes, but we're only dangerous to those who harm the helpless. Bora stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded once sharply. We'll see, she said. The Council session begins in 3 days. Be ready, the transmission ended. The Fortune's Edge set course for Velthera Prime, escorted by the military vessel. The Council chamber was silent for the first time in 3 days. 200 species waited, their eyes fixed on the central platform where Hyunwoo stood. He looked small under the vast dome, but his voice carried clearly when he spoke. Thank you for allowing me to address you, he began. I know many of you are afraid. I know some of you want me dead. I understand. The stories about humans must seem terrifying. He paused, looking around the chamber. But I'm not here to defend my species or to ask for your forgiveness. I'm here to tell you what really happened 3,000 years ago, and why it matters now. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing images from Hyunwoo's memories. Earth as it had been. Beautiful and blue, alive, this was our home. Not the biggest planet, not the richest. But it was ours and we loved it. When the Vryn came, they saw resources. Genetic material. Bodies to experiment on. We saw our families being taken. Our children disappearing. Our world being stripped bare. The images changed. Battles in space. Cities burning. Bodies in the streets. We tried diplomacy. We tried surrender. We tried everything peaceful. The Vryn didn't care. To them, we were just animals. Useful animals, but animals nonetheless. So we fought. New images appeared. Humans working alongside other species. Building weapons together. Planning together. Fighting together. We found others like us. Species the Vryn had enslaved. We didn't have advanced technology. We didn't have powerful weapons. What we had was something the Vryn could never understand. We cared about people who weren't like us. We were willing to sacrifice for strangers. Hyunwoo's voice grew quieter but more intense. For 10 years we fought. Millions of humans died, but millions of you were freed. We taught you to resist. We gave you hope. And when the Vryn finally blockaded Earth, when they thought they had won, We made the hardest choice any species has ever made. The hologram showed Sujin, explaining her plan to a room of military commanders and political leaders. Sujin was our best scientist. She was also my friend. She found a way to weaponize our sun, to create a chain reaction that would destroy the Vrin's stellar collectors and collapse their empire. But it meant destroying Earth. It meant billions of humans would die. The chamber was completely silent now. Even those who had heard the story before were transfixed. We voted, Yunwoo said. Everyone got a choice. Stay and trigger the weapon or leave on the Exodus fleet. Most chose to leave, but millions stayed. Volunteers who kept the secret, who maintained the illusion that we were beaten, who gave their lives so you could be free. The hologram showed Earth's final moments. The sun growing brighter, the planet burning, and then the massive pulse of energy that spread across the galaxy, destroying the Vrin Empire in 3 days. Sujin stayed, Hyunwoo said, his voice breaking. She said someone had to manually trigger the device, someone who understood the science. I begged her to come with me. She just smiled and said, "Some things are worth dying for." Tears ran down Hyunwoo's face, but he didn't wipe them away. So yes, humans are dangerous. We destroyed our own world. We killed billions of our own people. We weaponized a star. The myths about us are true. We are monsters. He looked directly at Bo-Ra. But we're monsters who chose to protect you instead of ourselves. We're monsters who value innocent lives more than our own survival. We're monsters who would burn in the fires of our own sun if it meant children on 1,000 different worlds could grow up free. The chamber remained silent. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. I'm not asking you to love us. I'm not asking you to trust us. I'm asking you to understand what we did and why we did it, and I'm asking you to let the other humans, the ones who survived, know that they can come home, that the galaxy they sacrificed everything for is still free. He stepped back from the podium. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Chancellor Yun Seok stood. The Council will now vote on whether to extend an official invitation to humanity to rejoin galactic civilization. All in favor? A door at the back of the chamber suddenly opened. Everyone turned to look. A woman walked in, flanked by an honor guard. She wore a uniform that looked similar to Hyunwoo's cryosuit but updated, modern. Her eyes scanned the chamber with calm confidence. Forgive the interruption, she said. Her voice was clear and strong. I am Jiwon, ambassador of the Human Stellar Alliance. I come on behalf of humanity to respond to your deliberations. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Hyunwoo stared at her, his eyes wide. You're alive, he whispered. Humanity is alive. Jiwon smiled at him, warm and sad at the same time. Yes, thanks to people like you. The Exodus fleet scattered to 12 different systems. It took us centuries to find each other again, but we survived. We rebuilt, and we've been watching. She turned to address the council. For 3,000 years, we've observed you from the shadows. We saw the council form. We watched you build a peaceful civilization from the ashes of the Vrin Empire, and we stayed hidden because we wanted you to succeed on your own terms, without the shadow of humanity hanging over you. Bo-Ra stood abruptly. You've been spying on us? For 3,000 years? Protecting you, Jiwon corrected gently. Let me show you. New holograms appeared, showing images that made the council members gasp. Human ships intervening in conflicts, stopping weapons shipments, preventing genocides, all done secretly, with no credit taken. 17 times, Jiwon said. We prevented situations that could have led to galactic war. We didn't want recognition. We didn't want power. We just wanted to ensure that Earth's sacrifice meant something, that you had the chance to be better than the Vrin were. A representative from the Kelthir delegation stood. Why reveal yourselves now? Jiwon's expression grew serious. Because something is coming. Our long-range sensors have detected anomalies in the outer regions. Patterns similar to what we saw before the Vrin invaded. We don't know what it is yet, but it's big, and it's heading this way. The chamber erupted in panic. Hyun-seok called for order, but the fear was palpable. Jiwon raised her hand and slowly the noise died down. We're not here to frighten you, she said. We're here to offer our help. Humanity is not what we were 3,000 years ago. We're smaller in number, quieter, but we still remember what it means to stand against impossible odds. We still remember what Sujin and billions of others died for. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from every species. Our ancestors became monsters to save you. They sacrificed everything they had, Everything they were, because they believed in a future where different species could live together in peace. You've built that future, and now when something threatens it, we're asking if you'll let us help protect it. Behind her, more figures entered the chamber. Fleet Admiral Kyung Min in military uniform. Scientists, diplomats, all human. All ready? The myths spoke of monsters called humans, Ji-won said. The legends didn't lie. We are capable of terrible things. We will destroy our own worlds. Sacrifice our own lives, become the darkness if that's what it takes to protect innocent people. But that's not all we are. She gestured to Hyunwoo, who stood with tears streaming down his face. We're also people like him, people who spent 3,000 years asleep, believing they were the last of their kind, only to wake up and find that their sacrifice worked, that you're free, that the galaxy is better. Ji-won's voice grew softer but more intense. We don't want to rule you. We don't want your gratitude or your worship. We just want to stand beside you when the darkness comes. We want to be the shield in the shadows, the monsters you call when innocents need protecting. Chancellor Yoon Seok stepped forward. And if we say no? If we decide we don't want humanity's help? Ji-won met his gaze steadily. Then we'll respect that choice and return to the shadows. But we'll still watch. We'll still protect from afar. Because that's what Sujin died for. That's what Earth burned for. Not glory or power, but the simple right of people to live free from fear. The chamber was silent. Then slowly, one by one, representatives began to stand. First the Kelthir, then others. Within minutes, the entire council was on their feet. Yeon-seok smiled. I think we have our answer. Welcome home, Ambassador Ji-won. Welcome home, humanity. The vote that followed was unanimous. The Sentinel Accord was established, making humanity official protectors of galactic peace. Not rulers, not conquerors, guardians. After the session ended, Hyunwoo approached Ji-won. She embraced him gently. We found records of your ship, she said softly. We've been looking for Exodus 7 for centuries. We thought everyone was lost. I thought I was the last one, Hyunwoo admitted. I thought Earth's sacrifice was for nothing. Ji-won pulled back, looking him in the eyes. Look around you. Look at what we built. Earth's sacrifice was for everything. Later, on the observation deck of the human flagship, Daewon stood beside Hyunwoo, looking out at the fleet. Dozens of ships, human and alien, preparing for whatever was coming. Are you really as dangerous as the legends say? Daewon asked quietly. Hyunwoo thought about Earth burning, about Sujin's smile. About 3,000 years of sleep and the awakening to find that humanity's sacrifice had created a better galaxy. The legends weren't about what we are, he said finally. They were about what we're capable of becoming when everything we love is threatened.